Hey bosses, it's Nina, and I wanted to show you how I make these YouTube thumbnails. PicMonkey is my application of choice, and they have recently went through a full user upgrade and update of the user interface. So I thought it's a great time to go ahead and show you how to create YouTube thumbnails. Let's go. Okay, the first thing you're going to want to do is create a PicMonkey account if you haven't created one already. I have a link in the comments area to sign up for a free trial. Please use my link. I do get a small percentage of anything that you guys sign up for it. But let's go. Once you sign up for PicMonkey, I'm going to go ahead and log in. And at the top, you'll see Hub, which is basically where you keep all of your images or your stock images and a lot of other kind of icons and things like that. You have your editor, your templates, and it also gives you the ability to learn new things. I'm going to go ahead and create a new blank canvas. And for YouTube thumbnails, the best size for me has been 1280 by 720. Keep in mind that PicMonkey also has an area, and actually I'll go back there so you can see it. If I click on create, I can go to templates and I can actually choose YouTube, and they have YouTube thumbnails that you can actually choose from. You can double click on those and actually use those for your thumbnails as well. That's actually kind of cute. So you can jump in, and if you're one of those people who really don't like starting from scratch, this is a great way for you to pick out some templates, and you kind of double click. And actually, let's pick out one just so I can show you. You're allowed to customize it. Okay. The main thing that you're going to want to do is just kind of point, click, edit, and replace with your item. So if I right click on here, I can actually replace this image with any of my own images, right? And on the left-hand side, you'll see all of the layers. So as I click on it, on your layers, these are each of the items that you're adding to PicMonkey. So you'll see that there's different layers. You can move them up or down using these arrows, and you just kind of double click in there and change your information and change the colors on your right-hand side. Now, I'm going to get out of this because I actually like creating mine from scratch. So we're going to actually create one from scratch. I'll click on create new, and I'll go to blank canvas, and I'm going to put my default settings. All right, notice I have a white background. If you want to make it clear, or excuse me, transparent, you can actually go to the top here and go to background color and change it to transparent. In my case, I like starting off with a pink background because most of my images I have pink on, or some kind of pink. Okay, I'm gonna start like that and just change the background. That's under the first area here. Let me just go over some of, okay, you're gonna start with a blank canvas. Let me just give you a quick overview of some of the items that you'll see here. Keep in mind that I'm in the beta mode. Now they do have the new PicMonkey. I'm in beta, so I may have some features that you don't see, but for the most part, most of the things that we're using today, you'll have access to. Okay, so since we're in the top right-hand corner, I'm just gonna go down here. Well, actually, at the top, if you have to give feedback to PicMonkey, you can do that there. They are very responsive. Okay, under where it says Untitled, one of the new features for PicMonkey is that it auto saves. I would go ahead and start with naming your thumbnail, because as you get through, you might forget, and everything's going to be named Untitled. So I'm going to call this, and let me see, this is for unlimited, oops, here we go, unlimited photos, stock photos. Okay, I'll just call it that. If you haven't seen that video, I'll leave the link below. I do have a video on how to get unlimited stock images. But let's jump in. Okay, so on the left-hand side, you'll see a couple of things. You can make a copy of this, you can share it, and you can also export. We'll use those at the end. What I'm going to do is actually go down to my overlays. I always start with my overlays or graphics, what they call it now, because I can kind of shape the image around these. So overlays are different images and icons and graphics that you add. So there's basic shapes like triangles and rectangles and hearts. You can use all of these in your images, right? In addition, I love that they've added some additional design elements. So you can actually add these. Keep in mind that even though it might be just a triangle or a square, putting them together can actually create an entirely new shape. So be creative when you're playing around with this. I never have an idea of what I'm going to create when I first start. I usually just jump in, and as I'm doing things, it kind of comes into play, or I'll just keep on kind of messing around with it until I have it. Again, if you're not that tech savvy or you don't think that you can do this, I would start with the actual templates. All right. I always start with my own image. What I do when I click on add your own, I upload a lot, and I mean a lot, to Hub. Okay, so you'll see that I have my branded stock images for 2018. I have my stock images that I've uploaded in general. Okay. And then I have a lot of other items like my logos and things like that. I try to keep these in here so then I don't have to look for things. So if you want to get stock images, or if you have different designs or icons, I would actually go look for those first and then come back and upload them so you always have them ready. These are things that I've searched for throughout the years and kind of uploaded different things. There's graphic frames. I have all kinds of items. A couple of places to find these. Again, I'll include my link below on how to find this amazing site. It's Elements, and I have unlimited stock images that I grab every month. And in addition to that, there's also free items like Pixabay and some other items. I'll include different links below so you can see where you can grab your own kind of brand collateral and stock images and things like that. Okay, so in this instance, I'm going to go to photos of myself. Oops, I clicked on the wrong things. And actually, I'm going to use, I'm trying to think if I want to use some of my new photos. I'm going to use my old photos because it actually has a pink background and I tend to get more clicks on that. And you'll see that I just take a lot of photos with my webcam, and whichever one sticks, that's the one I use. But I'm actually going to go to some older photos. And I'll use probably this one. I usually get a lot of views on, so I'm going to use this. Okay, so it's taken up the whole entire photo. Now I can flip it if I want it to be on the right hand side or the left hand side, and I'll look at that a little bit later. Under more options, you can actually flatten multiple layers once we start adding layers. And actually, let me show you this. You can actually move it around. So again, be very creative when you have these images. Now I'm going to start adding text in here. Keep in mind, if you have an image that may not have like a solid background, you can actually go through and erase the background. And so they've added some additional items like strength. I really like this for a lot of the kind of images that I've been doing, but we're not going to get into that right now. But usually I'll turn it up all the way and then to the size and the hardness down all the way. The reason why is the hardness actually tells, I'll go ahead and, this is 100%. I'm going to use Control Z to undo. And this is 0. See how it's more like an airbrush? It's easier for me to kind of blend this and remove backgrounds and actually add colors in the background if I use this. Okay, I'm going to undo that. And actually, before I do that, let me just show you. If you accidentally kind of delete some things that you don't need to delete, you can actually go to the next icon, which is the brush, and you could put it back. And so you kind of play around with this and the size and what you need. So you may make it a little bit less, and you can kind of play around with that. Okay. I have a separate video that I'll include below on how to remove backgrounds. It's changed a little bit, and so maybe I'll create a new video, but in general, most of the settings and most of the steps are the same. Okay, so I'm going to use the buttons down here to go back. It's like doing Control Z. All right, you can also hold this to see before and after. I don't need that right now, but in general, we'll use that as we're going along. And so this is for unlimited photo stock. So what I'm going to do is I actually want to move this over, and I can either change the background to match. So I'm going to go to background color and use this color dropper or color picker to kind of match this color, right? Or you can just make your image bigger if you want and kind of move it around. I'm just going to leave it here. And what I'll do to kind of blend this is we'll actually use the eraser. And I want the strength to be really down low because I noticed like you can just erase a little bit basically. So I'm going to make the hardness very low, and we'll make this a little bit smaller, and you can kind of see as you're looking, you can see kind of an example. And I'm just going to kind of do this. I'm just kind of clicking, and I can do like brush strokes. If you are on a laptop that has touchscreen, this is really easier to do on the laptop. I really like that. Okay, and I'm just gonna, okay. So you may not even have been able to tell the difference, but I just kind of make sure it's seamless. So now it just looks like one image, right? Okay, this usually only works when you have like the solid color to do it as easily as I just did it. There's other tricks if you have like a background and other things in the background. Okay, since I want this to remain as my background, just all one, I don't want it to move around as I'm adding images, I'm actually gonna go down to my layers in the bottom left-hand corner, okay? And I'm gonna press this button, which flattens all the layers. And so now it's just one image, okay? In addition to that, in the lower left-hand corner, turning on alignment, I am going to turn my grid lines on. This is just going to help me as I'm adding items and make sure that they're kind of like in alignment, okay? Another feature you can use in the bottom right-hand corner is turning it on dark, and it kind of gives you that pop so you can see how your image is. So I'm going to click on the text here, and I'm going to choose Antonio. And usually I use Antonio, Impact, or Lato. I want them to be large, and actually let's do Impact because people are looking on their phone most of the time. So keep in mind that they're gonna have to see this as they're scrolling by on YouTube. So I'm gonna type in unlimited, and we'll say stock images. And so I can either just do an enter or return and then do change the size and color, but I want to actually create different sizes. So I'm going to right click, duplicate this layer. And I'll do it one more time. Okay, now there's really no way to kind of align these, but what you can do, I'm just going to make this a lot larger. So I'll put this here. This is why I have these kind of grid lines on. And as you can see how I'm going, and you see this red line? That means it's aligning in the middle of the other images as well. So I'm going to go ahead and take these and do the same thing. So I'm going to put this on this line, and I want these to align. And you can kind of feel it. It kind of clicks into place. Okay. So I'm going to do the same thing with this and align them. And then in order to make it kind of justified, and justified means when the left and the right actually line up, I can use a slider. Thank you so much, PicMonkey, for adding the slider back to make these larger. Now this works well because one, I want stock images to be the largest thing people see. And actually, let's make this, I want to make these a little larger because I want these to be huge. And if I want, I could really, really try to align these. I'm not that worried about these. Let's do 247 maybe. Okay, that's fine. And then unlimited, I'm actually going to change this to maybe Antonio. And maybe this is what I mean when I say I never know what I'm going to do until I do it, because I kind of play around with it until it's the way I want it. And actually I do want these larger. So unlimited. Okay. So you play around with it some time, trying to align them, and I'll come back and do these a little bit more later. Now, one thing you could do is holding down, is it your control or your shift? Your shift key, I can select these as groups. So if I want to do the same thing to each of these, for instance, I want to do an outline, I'm selecting all of them at the same time, and I don't have to do it over and over and over again. Okay, so with outlines, I'm just going to actually turn the angle and distance all the way down. I'm going to actually change this to a white outline. I want the intensity all the way up, the fade all the way down. And you want to make sure your horizontal and vertical blur are about the same. Actually, oops. And this happens once in a while, so I may have to select them. I may have to select them separately. Hold on. Okay, let me do it this way. I think I forgot a step. So I'm going to make this white. Oh, I'm going to actually turn these down, turn my scale up a little bit. Fade down. There we go. Intensity up. Okay. All right, so you can kind of play with this a little bit depending on how you want it. I want the distance. There we go. So play around with it, but I want there to be an outline a little bit. You can add a little bit of blur if you want, but there's just different items. You can do knockout. I don't really like that. It doesn't show up right. You can do inner shadows. I don't really use these a lot either, but they're great tools that you can use when you're going through. I think this is fine for now. I'll play with it a little bit more a little bit later. So this is unlimited stock photos. I do want to add the logo. Okay, so here's a quick tip about finding logos for applications. Always put in the name of the application, then the word logo, and put in either PNG or transparent. And then I'm going to go to Google Images, and usually I can find one here. So I'm going to look at this one, and usually you can tell by this background. I'm going to scroll in. So usually this background means it is a PNG file, okay? And so I'm using the actual company's logo, so I should be okay. But keep in mind that some of these images are copyrighted, or there might be some legal things, so you don't want to use other people's actual images. All right, since I don't have this in my hub already, or my images that I already have uploaded, I'm just going to click on add your own. Then I'll select my computer or computer, and then I'll upload the image from there. All right, I have confirmed that this is transparent or PNG because I cannot see the background here. And because it has green, I may play around with this green a little bit more. I don't like the way this black looks. And give me 1 second while I refresh my screen. All right, so I don't like the way this black looks with this. So now I'm going to play around with kind of the colors. And so I don't really want green either, but let me just show you. If I click on this, I can actually use the color picker to pick this green if I want it to be this color. And actually it's not so bad. I'm not into green. If I do that, I might make the shadow black, which is actually okay. Or I can pick this color. That's actually not so bad. I'm going to try to do the opposite here. So this, in this case, okay, so let's see. So since this is black, and make sure you actually click on the outside, because if I click in here, I can actually just change the color of like one item. So I'm going to click away, click all the way away. And then, okay, so it selected the outside. And so for this one, I'm going to see if changing the outside, and I'm just going to use this so it's the same. I don't know if I like those, but we'll play around with it. I'm not really into green, but let's see how this goes. I'm just trying to make some kind of consistency. And so after I finish this video, I'll probably play around with it a little bit more, but the goal is to use the features. And actually what I'll do, the goal is to use the features in a way where you can kind of play around with them and they look good. I'm going to actually change this, and this will be the green color, and the effects, oops, and the effects will be, for the drop shadow, will be this kind of gray color. Okay, so we'll see. I'm going to put some items in the background to see if I can kind of flatten that out. So the rest of this, I'm not going to talk it through. I'm just going to kind of play around, and then we'll see what happens. I like these a lot better than me trying to play around with the other items. I basically added a layer, like I duplicated this and made this white. Just put it offset just a little bit so you can see it. And then here I actually used one of my photos that I had, my stock images, and I kind of blended it. Now, one thing I do want to do, I want to erase a little bit more kind of around my hand and stuff. There we go. And so you can kind of play with around with this to see how much you want showing. And you could also zoom in. I just don't want to, I just want to kind of brush this just a little bit. No, I don't like that. I'm just going to leave it like that, actually. All right, so here is my thumbnail. I love the new feature of the strength and the erasing elements. I really like this. All right, here's my final thumbnail. So if you would like to create these type of graphics and also get to know the new PicMonkey a lot more and do a deep dive, I actually have a couple of different things coming up. I have a PicMonkey webinar coming up for beginners and those who are new to PicMonkey or want to learn about the new PicMonkey. I also have a masterclass coming up. All of the details will be in the comments box below, but I would love to actually see your graphics that you make with PicMonkey. So if you have been creating graphics with PicMonkey, please head over to Pink Boss Club and share your graphics there. If you'd like to learn more about the new PicMonkey, check out my free webinar coming up or my PicMonkey Masterclass. See you there.